Okay, all right. I think we're streaming live. If we are, you guys let me know on the live stream here. Just let me know in the comments here or the chat if you can actually see me and stuff like that because I am not actually certain I've got this thing set up correctly, but I'm hoping that I do. So, anyway, let's see who is in the house. Well, we got Chocolate Tobler. Yes, it was absolutely fabulous to meet with you and your beautiful wife there at XRP Vegas. Truly, it was amazing, amazing, amazing. All right. We have got Terry Bouvier in the house from Calgary. You know what? I graduated from Calgary, actually high school, Henry Wisewood High. In fact, Terry, I think I remember. Yes, Henry Wisewood, right off of Elbow Drive there. That's right. Northern Living, Davis, congrats. Nice to see you in Vegas again. Absolutely. We had a great time meeting you as well. Um, Okay, so someone's asking here, do you think it's possible for the SEC will go back and retract a lot? No, I don't think they will. I don't think they're going to retract it. I think they're going to actually, just close their appeal. And I think that Ripple and the SEC are going to work out some kind of a deal that allows everybody to move forward with everything they want to do. All right. Nice guy, Bobby. Thank you, Bobby, for letting me know. He says I can see and I can hear you, buddy. That's awesome. Gilbert, same thing. Yay, yay, yay. Jessica, we got James Wampler in here. Brian De Alessandro, Keone, Rakestraw from Ohio. Well, hey, we love you guys too. Look, I want to say right off the tip top, and I'd say this every time we do one of these live streams, but guys, the deal is this. We make the content, you guys make the community. There is no way any of these content creators and especially ourselves could ever get to where we are without the community that is behind us. And so just want to celebrate you guys because we did this together. This is our celebration. We just crossed over. I think now we have 56,300 subscribers, which really is humbling, blows me away. Now, I do have a goal. I hope that we can get up there over that 100,000 mark for sure, absolutely for sure. But we did this together to be sure. Now, uh, Karina Melton from Texas. I'm going to tell you, I do love Texas. I think Texas is the greatest state in this wide union, but it's a beautiful country, and we have seen a lot. Judy and I have visited so many states, and of course, we had an amazing time when we went to the Capitol, and we saw the White House, the Lincoln Memorial, the mall there that goes from, and it was just wild. We saw so much; it was amazing, and in fact, we didn't even have enough time. Cannot wait to go back and see the nation's capital and visit some of the other stuff that we did not get to see. We did get to see some really great spots, like for instance, where the Ford Theater, where Lincoln actually was shot there, and some of the really amazing things in the Capitol. If you've never been to the nation's capital, truly phenomenal. That is for sure. We got Ing Ching saying thanks, David and Judy, and the whole XRP community. X13 Bravo, hi, first time live viewer. Well, hey, I'm glad you're here. Absolutely glad when Mighton, hello. I'm gonna try and get through a lot of these here, guys. I don't want to miss you. JD says hi and congrats. Hey, Q's in the house. So I guess if there's any secret things we want to ask, well, we can ask Q. He's here. Hello from the UK. We got a lot of people in here from the UK. That is for sure. Guys, the chat thing is just going up nuts. Steve Surfs, thank you for everything from the UK. Really appreciate that a lot. Guys, I can't wait to do our world tour. I'll tell you, Judy and I, that is one of our bucket list dreams, is to do this world tour. And when this space blows up, we are literally going for it, guys. We're going to go to New Zealand and Australia. We're going to go to Dubai. Yes, we will be in Africa. We will probably hit, Ireland, Scotland and Ireland and the UK for certain, Germany over there. Lots of places. We're going to go to South America as well. Hopefully we'll get down there as well. Of course, Canada, the US, and all that. And we're just going to take a year. And that year of ours is going to be just kind of like, traveling, visiting, loving on people, and saying thank you. And when we do, we will definitely be posting in your area where we are when we get there. And it will not cost you a dime, a dime. But you probably will have to RSVP because, we can't have, we might not have room for 10,000 people kind of thing. But, 200, we could do it at each spot, kind of thing. So that's what we're going to try and do. We got Heinrich Scheppel from South Africa in the house. We got, let's just see, Steve's, okay. Greg Gage from Wisconsin. We got Tim Dumars from North Idaho in here. And we got folks from Florida and Q's from Florida say, hey, isn't that wild? That's awesome. Dean Rogers, again, UK. Love folks from the UK, like we just said there. Pat from White Rock says, thank you, bro. Well, if it is the White Rock that I'm familiar with, which, by the way, is in South Surrey, it's its own little town, actually, but it is a beautiful spot. We would go down there and have Moby Dick's fish and chips, and it was a phenomenal, absolutely fabulous. Alabama, we got Sonophalis from Alabama in there. Sweet Home Alabama, by the way, is Judy's favorite movie. Favorite movie. Watch. I bet you we've watched that thing 20 plus times. All right. Scotty from Rochester, New York. Wow. I'll tell you what, that is on our bucket list to go to New York. Absolutely. I want to see New York City, mind you. That is where we really want to go, but definitely we'll be in the state of New York. Buffalo. Well, I'll tell you what, Melvin, one of my favorite NHL teams has got to be the Sabres. I actually love the Sabres, and one of the very first teams, actually, I think, in there. We got Gilbert is from Tennessee, Matthew from South Carolina. Got some other ones there. Richard from Richard DDS. Now, I'm not sure what DDS stands for. Sorry about that, Richard. DDS. I'm trying to think. Is that the... I don't know. Actually, tell me what it is. Okay, and New Jersey, of course. From Wales. Wow, that is fabulous, guys. It's up in Wales. You know what? I would love to go to Wales. Have never, ever been, and I would love to be there. And Tomato Pete is coming from Nottinghamshire, right there in the UK. Wow, and I love the name Nottinghamshire. It, reminds me, of course, of Robin Hood and all that. Now, I don't know, what if that's the actual spot it is, but Nottingham and Nottingham Forest and all that. Darren Joyce, UK. What about price appreciation after? By the way, hello from Croatia. I actually do believe we are going to see some price appreciation. Triple X is asking that, and I do think we will. And I'm going to get into that. I just want to kind of get through the list of folks in here. You got Joel Arquin from Kansas City, Missouri. We got, let's see here, R. Ray Plum. Well, hey, Mindy, thank you so much for that. I just saw that up there on the screen. That is really sweet of you. Mindy Bowman just gave us a super chat, and really actually quite precious. And, we do the coaching. And the thing is this, guys, we have had to kind of put a hold on it because, things are moving so quickly. And the first 2 weeks that we opened up in July, those got sold out really, really quick. That does not mean we don't want to open up more spots. It just means that, it wouldn't be fair if we weren't able to keep those commitments, because if this thing blasts off, and it happens soon, which is kind of what I'm feeling, we could see something big time in July here. Then, of course, as I am encouraging you to do, Judy and I will be working, on our plan and executing that plan. That's a big time deal, guys. You want to have that in there. We got some from Tulsa, Oklahoma in here. William Harvey. We got ELM13, like I said, Tulsa, Oklahoma. Picasso Perfecto. Wow, that very great, man. That's a great title, great name for sure. And Kurd Dog from Ohio, Pat Tierney, Canada, Justin L. What up, Dave? Lexington, North Carolina. Absolutely phenomenal. Okay, Grant Deards, Hitchin, England. Fabulous. Stephen Mumford from Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Well, I think that I'd love to go to Baton Rouge. I haven't been there, but it's a spot that I would love to see. I've heard a lot of great things about it, and I would love to go there. Chris Meager, my brother Mike Mark geeks out when Coffee Chat comes on, LOL. Have a great week. Well, thank you. I am very humbled by that, to be completely honest, guys. Very humbled. Crowbar from Washington State. Well, of course, we know Washington State. Judy and I, having lived, right there in Langley, the lower mainland. And I kid you not, I mean, we were down in the U.S. at least once, twice, maybe 3 times a week, do all of our shopping down there because it was so close, so close. Washington State. Nancy Hoffman is there. Casey Nash, and from Ohio, and Chattanooga, Tennessee. And Yanni Pennanen. Yanni Pennanen. I hope I'm pronouncing from Finland. Fabulous, fabulous. Caroline Kidd from Utah. Love your enthusiasm. Well, I really do value that. I really appreciate that. Judy and I, you know what? We just try to come out and be ourselves. Now, I know sometimes it gets a little goofy or I get on my soapbox. I know. But I want you to experience me. I don't want you to experience, kind of like, pretending to be this or that or whatever. I mean, I'm about as goofy as it gets sometimes, but I can be very serious, guys. Judy knows that. And Tomato Pete said Nottinghamshire. Yes, Robin Hood country. That's awesome. When I was working with the government as a federal officer and for 25 years, and certainly held some interesting positions, special enforcement officer, complex case officer, resource officer, team leader, all that kind of stuff. I worked in trust. I worked in, of course, the enforcement division, aggressive tax planning, on and on. And I spent years of my life serious, so serious. And I'll tell you what a joy it is to not have to be so serious. Doesn't mean I've lost all my intellect, but I get to allow myself to be me. And I want you guys to be you. I'll tell you what, it is an amazing thing. DDS is dentistry. Thank you. Thank you so much for that. I did not know. All right. So, congrats, Brad Tay says, congrats, Dave and Judy, on another milestone. Happy for all that. Thank you so much, Brad. That really is precious to us. Richard Newton, the dentist. Okay, I got it. Thank you so much. Okay. Yes, and we will visit Florida again for sure. We got Wendy from Ann Arbor, Michigan in the house. Stixie, hello from Northern Ireland. Yes, of course. And we are definitely going to be hitting that. It's on our bucket list to see anyhow. But the fact that we can actually meet folks that have been part of this community while we're there is even better. I'll tell you what, absolutely for sure. Las Vegas, yes, sir. Yeah, I love it. Okay. Barrie, Ontario. I know exactly where Barrie, Ontario is. Exactly where that is. Derek Miller from Burnham on Crouch, Essex in the UK. Wow, are we ever going to have a time? There's a lot of folks in the UK here, and we are going to have an amazing time when we get over there. Let's see. Okay. All right. And David Jones, another one from Wales. Praise God. I'm enjoying these. I'm telling you. And I'm trying to give everybody as much as I can. Now, the chat is scrolling really fast, so if I miss you. Michael P., thank you, Michael. That is really precious. We value all the support. It really makes a deal. And Michael gave us a super chat there, and I really value that. Okay. Now, Tony Labara is asking a question. He's saying, explain how and why we are tied or follow Bitcoin, please, and how we decouple. Well, very straightforward, and I think one of the easier questions to answer. Bitcoin, of course, is the granddaddy of them all. It is the thing that kicked off and truly started this distributed ledger technology space, and you got to give props where props are due. Bitcoin has been the single most appreciating asset in the entirety of any market worldwide for all time. That is a fact, Jack. Now, does that mean that we have not seen significant appreciation with XRP? Well, I'll tell you what. Since the president got elected in November till now, has Bitcoin even done a 100% move? No, it hasn't. Well, How about XRP? XRP has done hundreds of percent. Remember, guys, it's return on investment. And I think that's how we eventually decouple. We decouple with the utility. We decouple, guys, from actually getting out there and allowing people to get exposure and awareness. And I'll tell you what, do you think that investors are looking for, just because the price is high at $107,000, that's what they're looking for? No, guys, they're looking for return on investment. They're looking to get the 1, 2, 3, 500, maybe even 1,000+% gains, aren't they? If Bitcoin even goes to 214,000, that's only a 100% gain. Heck, if XRP goes from $2 to $10, that's 500% right there. That's where we decouple, in my opinion. H the Hammer, love you, David. Thank you, my friend, from Marietta, Georgia. Wow, thank you, guys. I love that. I always get my skinny cappuccino ready. Unfortunately, mine's not a skinny cappuccino. In fact, I still have some Joe right here. And guys, you can better believe there's coffee in the cup. I get a lot of fun out of that when folks say, "Hey, there ain't no coffee in that cup." Well, there's not just coffee in it. That is true. Okay, Russell and Darlene from Baton Rouge. Come on over and we'll jambalaya. Yes. I remember that song as a kid, jambalaya, crawfish pie, Philly gumbo. Remember that one? I used to love that song. My mom would have it playing in the house all the time, Hey, David, good to see you live. Really appreciate all you do. Fane, April, thank you, guys. Thank you so much. Joshua Groshenberg, hello, David. You should be a motivational speaker. Well, I hope I am motivating folks to believe and to look down the road at life and see, okay, what are opportunities that I have been blind to? Maybe because of my bias. Maybe because, I haven't believed that it's possible. My head has been down the whole time, and you got to lift up. You got to look up and don't think that your glass is half empty, because it is not. It's about to overflow. I'll tell you that right there. And I missed out on so many opportunities in my own life because, I had a bias or I didn't have belief. And, I oftentimes tell folks this. Judy and I, we are what I would classify as a faith-based investor. Now, the Bible's description of faith is the evidence of things not seen, but things hoped for. Well, guys, come on. Anybody making an investment's hoping for something they have not yet seen, aren't they? And you're exercising faith. Every single person invested into this space, whether you are a person of faith, a spiritual person or not, you are exercising faith. You are hoping for something you haven't yet seen. But guys, is that the whole, and that is what the scripture says. The evidence, it's the evidence. Things hoped for. And that's the proof of it, guys. It's right there. Faith is a tangible thing. I kid you not. Okay. Richard, now this thing has just moved by so fast, and I hope I'm not missing people because I don't want to miss you. I really enjoy you. I love you. Okay, Felix from Vienna, Austria is in the house. That's fantastic. RTM, love you, David. You keep me hanging in there day after day. Well, believe you me, I am preaching to the choir right here. We're keeping ourselves hanging in too. Carrie B, Judy, and Dave, thanks for all you share. What coffee is your favorite? Well, I have to admit, and it might not even be good for me, it's Tim Hortons K-Cups. We get those Tim Hortons K-Cups every time someone comes down from Canada. I know you can order them online, but it's kind of fun getting them right from the home country. And of course, we throw it in there, and we use hazelnut syrup. And Judy has got us on a new type of cream. I think it's called Sown, S-O-W-N. It's a healthy style cream. And, I like to put cinnamon shavings in there too. And it just it's a nice kick. It's a good flavor. That's how we do it. Okay. Scotty G, only following about 3 months ago. Love the channel. Been accumulating for over a little 2 years. Wow. You know what? We did too. We slow and steady. Guys, when there are dips, come on. Are you kidding me? For Judy and I, we believe in this space, and I mean big time. So if I see dips and opportunity, that's when we bought. We bought in the dips. Do you think we cried and moaned? No, we're like, oh, thank goodness, an opportunity. We can actually get out there and accumulate more of this XRP at a price that is really going to make a difference. And that's how we looked at it. And look at what's happened. Bang, bang, bang. I mean, we are up there like crazy. That is for sure. Calvin Woodruff. Hello, David. Prayers and blessings from Polka, Florida. Well, I'll tell you, Calvin, we take all the prayers and blessings people want to send our way. Absolutely, for sure. We are believers in prayer. Adam M. Hi, Dave from London, Ontario. I know exactly where London, Ontario is for sure. When we were kids, we ended up having to go out towards London there. And I remember it was being evacuated in a lot of ways because of the whole Mississauga disaster. You'd have to look that up. I mean, that is going back like literally 50 years. But I remember it, and I have family actually in London, Ontario. So yes, and I'm so glad we can do it. Sorry, someone says I'm so tired. I'm an XRP holder. Well, I'll tell you what. If you're really that tired, maybe it's time for you to put it to bed. Maybe it's time to get out. Because I'll tell you, I am not tired. I am so stoked for what we got coming. I'm excited. It's kind of like when you're waiting in line at Disneyland. And you know that ride, you've been on it before, and boy, oh boy, you cannot wait to get on that again. When you go to Magic Mountain and stuff like that, and you're just waiting. It's a long wait, but you're willing to stand in the line. You're willing to stand in the heat. You're willing to stand in the crowd. You're willing to stand in the tunnels. You're willing to stand in the aisles. You're willing to stand on there until you get buckled in to that ride, and boof, off you go. And it's only about 2 minutes and 30 seconds long, maybe 3 minutes at tops, but you waited there for hours to do it. Well, tell you what, guys, this ride is going to make any other ride you ever went through like absolutely as if you were on a merry-go-round at the kids' park in comparison. And are we willing to wait for it? Am I ever? I'll tell you what, right there. That is for sure. Oh my goodness. Now I'm trying to get through. So we have Robert Russell, Nova Scotia, and I have been to Nova Scotia, Antigonish, and Glasgow, and all kinds of places all over Nova Scotia. Know exactly all about it. I remember my brother and I used to love that. So farewell to Nova Scotia, the sea-bound coast. May your mountains dark and drear I be. For when I'm far away on the briny ocean tossed, will you ever heave a sigh and a wish for me? Anyway, I know that's kind of quirky, but I know it. Anyway, thank you for all the positive, great advice. In the event, I watch you with Edo and Blacks. Yes, these guys are great. I love Edo and I love Verson. One thing I can tell you about both of those guys, they believe in everything they're saying. They believe it. They are not just filling you full of hype. They absolutely believe what they're saying, and they have put their money where their mouth is. I'll tell you that right there. Andrew Pfeiffer, when XRP does moonshot, do you think it'll go back to $2 because of all the people taking profits, or will pull? Well, it's a good question. Good question. I get this question a lot. Now, I honestly believe that, this space, the volatility, when it drops down, it drives down 80 to 90% to the floor. It's the same volatility that fires it off to the moon. But think about this. Once we get the regulatory clarity, the institutional adoption, everybody coming in, and the price has appreciated obviously because of that, do you think that we're going to get the same level of volatility that we got in the past? My personal opinion is we probably won't. Why? Because you see, the volatility is tied to the uncertainty. When the uncertainty is gone, hey, the volatility is gone. What happens, guys? Well, the risk is off the table to the degree because it's that risk. It's the uncertainty tied to the volatility that creates the risk, and the risk is high. But when the uncertainty is gone and you got the clarity, the volatility goes away. Well, the risk. Do you think that folks up there that are going to be buying it at 20, 30, 40, 50, $100 or more are going to see the same level of return on their investment that you and I saw? Probably not. Why? Because you see, the risk is not as great. Now, you ask yourself this question. For everyone buying up there, because for everyone selling at 20, 50, 100, someone else has got to be buying. I always like to say, what is in their mind? Well, of course, the guy buying it at 20 is hoping it hits 40. Guy buying it at 40, hoping it hits 80. The guy buying 80, I mean, come on. That's exactly how it goes. Guys, I think we're in for the ride of our lives. That is my 100% personal biased opinion, to be sure, right there. David, love your channel. Doug R. saying, do you think there is a minimum number of XRP required to utilize Caleb and Brown? No, there is not. You can open up a Caleb and Brown account if you have the ability to do it. Now, I know they had to move out of the UK market. And get this, they had to move out of the Canadian market. But you know what? So did Binance and so did Uphold and all that. There are some environments that are not friendly to crypto. It is not because these companies don't want to do business there. Of course they do. But they've made the environment so difficult that they're unable to do it. They've made it so cost prohibitive that literally, oh, well, we won't outlaw you, but we'll make it so ridiculously cost prohibitive that you won't be able to do business here. Now, that is your government out there working against you as a crypto, investor. And the UK is doing it. Australia's out there doing it. All these Commonwealth countries, which is mind-bending because you know what? In Canada, they limited folks from being able to invest $30,000 in altcoins. Now, think about this. You could take your life savings. You could literally go down to Vegas, or you could go to Monte Carlo. You could go to all these places around the wide world. You could gamble it away in one night. They don't care. But for whatever reason, they want to prevent you from getting it. They're out to protect you. Come on, what a load of baloney that is. It's because they don't have a friendly environment to it. That's why. Has nothing to do, with trying to protect you. I'll tell you what, right there. Okay, let's see here. I don't want to miss anybody. Well, Marguerite's asking a question here, and I'm going to answer this question. And by the way, Wade, I do not want to miss you, my brother. I want to say thank you so much for your consistent and just solid support. You've been with us for almost since the beginning, and I just want to acknowledge it. And he says, I'm here. How's it going? Well, it is going fabulous, considering the fact that we just got this whole case finally finalized, so that's a big deal. Okay, let me just see here. I want to get Marguerite in here. And Marguerite Wolin is saying, she was asking a question. I thought I saw it there. Oh, why not just use Coinbase to sell crypto versus other exchanges? Well, I'll tell you why we didn't, okay? Back in 2020, 2021 bull run, when this space picked up any serious traction, Coinbase, Kraken, Uphold, a lot of these exchanges, you know what happened? Their servers went down. And, it's not because they were doing anything nefarious. The exchanges weren't doing it. It's they could not handle the traffic. I'm going to tell you guys something right now. It will be a race to the trough. You watch and see. It will you will not be able to digest it. There are people in this right now, in this chat, in this live stream, that could tell you what I'm saying is absolutely for certain true. You will not be able to digest it. And by the way, when those servers went down and you couldn't log in, to do your selling and buying, do you think that the market stopped trading? Do you think the market stopped? No, it didn't. It took them hours to get it back up. And moves were happening during that time period. Yep, that is for sure. So back in the day, we were listening to Ben Armstrong, BitBoy, and he was doing a presentation on Caleb and Brown. Judy and I have been with Caleb and Brown since 2020. And I'll tell you, they have been absolutely fabulous, and you're able to get up on the phone with that. Now, someone, RTM saying, David, are you a client? Yes, I am a client of Jake Claver and Digital Ascension Group. We have done work in and through them, and they have been absolutely fabulous. And in fact, I am in the process, guys, and I'm going to make an announcement here that I haven't said. But Judy and I, right now, I am studying to take what's called the Series 65 exam and get licensed as a financial advisor. And I will be coming on board, and I'll be personally working with Jake Claver. Now, Jake is a friend. I don't even consider him a colleague. I respect him. The guy has done so much for this community. Of course, he's out there, he's building a business, but do you know the inroads that his business has allowed for the average person like you and I to actually have access to products that we would have never, ever had access to if Jake hadn't have gone out there and literally started up Digital Ascension Group and Digital Wealth Partners and the top notch people that he has working with him? I have met some of these guys. I've met the chief compliance officer. I've spoken with the chief investment officer and these guys out there. And, we got other people in this digital asset space community like Mickle that are working with Jake. There are some top notch minds working over there. And I'm going to tell you something. They are 100% on board. You know what you need, guys? You need competency, yes, but you also need character. And in this space, trust is one of those things that you have got to have. I would not advocate for somebody if they were competent, I would acknowledge their competency. But if I didn't think they had character, I would not advocate for them. And I can tell you right now that Jake is probably one of the most sincere guys that you're going to run into in this space, knowledgeable, competent, and has character. And if he can't do it, he's going to say, look, I can't do it. And it's like us. We don't want to turn people away, but sometimes, look, we're hamstrung at the ability of what we can do, not because we don't want to make it available, but because it does not exist quite yet. A lot of the third parties that Jake interacts with, they require folks to have a minimum amount of this or that or whatever, and it's not because we're only going to work with the richy riches and all that. It has nothing to do with that. It has to do with the infrastructure of this ecosystem. Now, when that changes, and you watch the value of our assets go up and the infrastructure get more broad-based, you're going to watch and see that, man, I do believe 100% there is going to be availability for people even holding 5,000 XRP to access some of these products. I'll tell you that right there. Okay, now what? Let me just see here. Okay. Real Newland. Hi, David. Would you think that XRP can drop to the price of $1, or is it hope $1 or zero-ish hoping can drop? No, I don't. I don't think we're going to see below $1. Now, is that a guarantee? Of course it's not a guarantee. No one has a crystal ball. That's just my personal opinion. But I just don't think that it's in the cards anymore. I think those days are done. Even if we do retrace, look, we can hit some numbers. Look, did XRP ever revisit under a penny? From 2017? No, never did. Never, never, never did. The lowest it dropped was down there at that 11, 12 cent range. Even during the whole, when all this was going down in 2020, never got under that 1 penny. That is for sure. Now, Major New Money, thank you so much. I appreciate that, man. That is really a great blessing, and we value that so much. And he just gave us a super chat, and I'm just saying thank you, guys. Thank you. It's very humbling for us to see those. Okay, now, Scott says, will there be many more bear markets in your view to be able to multiply? Oh, well, of course. The market, but it's how low, right? Obviously the question is this, for every bull market, guys, there's a bear market. Now, for every bear market, hey, there is a bull market, right? Because that's just the way markets work. Ever since the Dutch created them in the 1700s, that's just the way it is. The only thing we don't know is how high, how low, right there. And we want to be thinking about that. That is for sure. Malene Ferguson is saying, hi, David. I just want to say thank you for sharing your knowledge with us on the daily. So appreciate you. Well, I value you guys, and I'm sharing with you what I know, but I'm encouraging you to go out there and learn and get to know what you can know. Why is that important, guys? Why is that so vitally important? Because you see, when we find answers, even if our answers do agree, even if they match up right perfectly, the fact that you found that for yourself, guess what? It resonates deeper. You trust it more. And that helps you as an investor, doesn't it? Because you're starting to build up that reservoir of conviction that I always talk about. Vitally, vitally important right there. This says, thank you, David, for all you do, both in in the Lord and digital assets. Yes, Jake Claver and Digital Wealth Partners. I joined and secured my wealth with Anchorage. Major New Money has said that. Well, that's fantastic. I think that's great. Atlantic Living. Oh my heavens, Dave! If you were working for Jake, you must take on and service the Canadian market. I think that's the idea because of the experience that I've had. 25 years of experience working in the tax department in Canada. Now I don't understand everything, I'll tell you that, but I do understand a lot, and I want to be able to bring that to the platform. And so it's going to be a great, I'm looking forward to it. So looking forward to it. And I'm at the place now where I can actually communicate it. We've been talking about it for the last couple months, but to be able to get out there at this point and to share what's coming forward with the community, I'm really happy I'm able to do that. And I'm going to be looking forward to working with hand in glove with all these guys. And they're a great, great group of people. That is for sure. Okay. Yes, I will. Of course, I'm going to let everybody know. And I'll tell you what, guys. You want to see? You want to see? This is the book. Look at the size of this book. Do you think that passing this test is just a cakewalk? Holy moly! And I'm a good way through this book, but it is a lot to digest. But God bless me in a big way with a almost. And I say it like this. It's almost photographic memory. Almost. I don't know. Maybe it is. Maybe it is photographic, but I have an amazing ability to retain information that I read and I go over, and that has been a blessing in my life. And I know I've said this before, but perhaps people haven't really they haven't met me one on one. But if you did, you'd find out that in a big crowd and even on one on one. I have Asperger's. And so sometimes I don't recognize certain social cues and it can be difficult. But the very thing that had been a handicap for me has also been probably one of the greatest blessings in my life because I am so analytical. And it's that analytical mind that has allowed me to see through problems and find solutions and literally, be able to focus on stuff. And part of that is that whole obsessive compulsive, that goes with that. I remember, trying to beat the whole obsessive compulsive thing. And I realized, there's no defeating it. It's just part of the process is what I've got going on. But what I decided to do is if I'm going to obsess, I'm obsessing on the positive. I am going to obsess on those things that are going to actually get me down that road, help me, and stuff like that. Now, I have an amazing partner in Judy. I mean, she is probably a genius when it comes to social interactions. And I owe a lot of where we're at in this channel to her. A lot of those things, believe it or not, guys. She motivated me to start the channel. She motivated me to, do different things and do our sugars on Sunday, all that kind of stuff. It was really, Judy has such a great sense of how to get stuff out there and probably one of the sweetest, most precious people I have ever met. And my best friend, she is not just my spouse. I mean, Judy is my best friend, and I owe the world to her. So I don't even know if she's listening. Probably not. She's out getting some stuff done, and that's why I'm able to do this. So I'm not saying this just so she hears it. I love her to hear it though, but I'm saying it because it's true. It is true, and she'd be the first to know this. If you knew the real, you would be. It's amazing. So I just want to give her credit because she's done so much. Um, okay. Let me just see. I don't. Mike Bullock. Hi, David. Much love to you and Judy. June 27th has passed, which is the go, no go for ISO 200 Fedwire. So July 14th seems to be the go date locked in. It seems that way. It seems that way. And we know that FedNow is already using, they're doing it domestically. It's the international side. And I think it's going to be absolutely fantastic when all this goes down. We're seeing the evolution in front of our eyes. I mean, can we possibly even deny this? Nobody can deny it. I mean, the very people that were poo-pooing it are championing it right now. And you got Larry Fink. Hey, even Donald Trump was putting down crypto. Now he's like right behind it. It's going to be the biggest thing. You had all these people out there saying, oh, how bad it was. And yet now they're all out there. You got this Genius Act going on, Fit 21 going on. You got all this stuff going on. And, it is amazing to me how folks can literally be the ostrich and bury their head in the sand and deny what is happening right in front of their very eyes. And as many times, and look, you can lead a horse to water. It's true. Can't make them drink it. Can't make them drink it. But unfortunately, when this goose is cooked, it's going to be over. The opportunity that is represented now in comparison to when we get all the regulatory clarity and all that is going to be, they are going to write books and movies about it. I kid you not. Greatest wealth transfer in the history of mankind, in my estimation, that's for sure. Absolutely for certain. That is what we believe. That is what we for sure. So Mason Man saying, hi, David, where and what do you suggest we study? Well, I'll tell you what we did. We went to the top, we went to like CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap. And you know how they list all the various assets out? And they list them out in, like market capitalization. You can rank them all different ways, price, all this and that. But there's so much information for each asset, and you get to go to the websites. You examine the websites of what they've got, their partnerships, what they've got. Look at the International Monetary Fund. Read the white papers. Go to the Bank of International Settlements. Read the white papers. Heck, go to the WEF. Read the white papers, and dig. Now you got sentiment analysis, technical and fundamental. Well, sentiment, where I go for a lot of the sentiment, I look at news articles. That's sentiment, guys. News articles today are primarily opinion based. Now they will obviously report what happened, but they lay down an opinion in it totally. You're not just getting news, right? So you got to take it with a grain of salt. So sentiment, that comments on videos, things like that. Like you can really get your fingers on the pulse of the sentiment in this space right quick. The technical analysis, I'm not a TA guy, but I've chosen some guys that I like and I follow. So I would recommend you find some you trust and follow. And then the fundamentals, come on, that's pretty straightforward. You just have to get out there and truly research it, and you can build up those fundamentals. Don't waste it, guys. Don't waste it. You went to school, right? Go back and start employing those research techniques that you learned to do all your papers in school and start putting them to your benefit, right now. That's what I would do. Bo Duke 24. Hey, David and Judy. Well, hey, how are you? Dangerous Dave says, congratulations from Australia. And Carmen Zanovic is saying, happy Saturday, everyone. I think that's absolutely fabulous. Rhythm Excursions. Wow, thank you so much for the super chat there. And this is what they're asking. Do you believe the US dollar will lose all value? If so, how soon do you believe it will happen? Well, the U.S. dollar since 1913, when they started the Federal Reserve, has lost over 98, maybe even 99+% of its purchasing power. Will it literally go to zero? No, I don't think that it will. But do I believe that we will see the evolution of the U.S. dollar? Oh, you had better believe I do. I believe that we're watching it happen right now. Well, it's very interesting that Scott Bessent came out and he had said, look, we're going to support the U.S. dollar with stable coins. That is amazing. He did not say support stable coins with the U.S. dollar. So do I think the U.S. dollar as the dominant, fiat currency in the wide world is going to diminish? I think I've said many times the dollar is dead. We just haven't had the funeral yet, but that doesn't mean there won't be some kind of a resurrection. They are out there planning it. I kid you not. Because why? Well, what are we talking about here? Global market dominance. That is what a reserve currency status, gives a society. And right now, I don't think there's any single nation in the wide world that could replace that, in that capacity, because the infrastructure that would be involved is truly phenomenal. You're talking the overnight interest rates, you're talking, which by the way are set, I believe, in London, but you're talking all kinds of things that are measured against it. Now, does that mean that there could not be an agnostic denominated monetary instrument that is not country based, but takes over that reserve currency status? Oh, yeah, I believe that is very possible. Could it be XRP? Maybe it could. I think that it has certain potential in there. It's certainly in the running, but that's how I would answer that right there. Okay. So thankful for you guys. Yes, I hope we all get to meet. Lucky Guy 13 saying, so thankful for you guys. Wife and I can't wait to meet y'all in person. And I hope that that does happen sooner rather than later for sure. Uh, Nanos with the backbone. Do you think it's okay to leave some of your ex on Caleb and Brown? Well, I think, you have to really think for yourself like, look, in the event that we see a major boom, a lot of people, do you realize even the XRP network last time got congested? Uh-huh. Now, that doesn't mean you could never get it on. If you couldn't get on the exchange, yeah, that had a big deal. But if you were sending it to a wallet that you knew your broker managed for you, the XRP network itself got congested because people were just moving so much volume through it. And so, and plus, you have to think about, this is an individual that I have no problem. I've got a multifaceted, custody solution. And being a public figure, self custody is not something that, as a public figure, you really do because, you know that people can recognize you. You're not going to just keep these on, hardware wallets and stuff. So for Judy and I, we don't look at self-custody. Now, that does not mean it's not something good for the average folks that are not in the public eye, and that type of thing, because, you're able to kind of like, people know we're invested in crypto. Come on, here we are. But they may not know that you are. And so it's the security of it. You see, the deal is this: most of these platforms, most of these wallets, most of these things do not get hacked. They get compromised because people respond to different things. They get duped into signing on false websites, and on and on and on it goes. That's what happens. So having it on a platform or whatever, depending, it doesn't even matter what the platform is. Usually that's not the vulnerability. The vulnerability is loose lips sink ships right there. That's what it is. Okay. Caroline is saying here, David, the Iraqi dinar is currently a hot item. Discussion. Any knowledge? Nope. You know what? Judy and I have never got into those currency things. Now, have there been revaluations for foreign currencies before? Yeah, the Vietnam dong was one of them, and it was a big time deal. A lot of people made a lot of money, but I just don't know a whole lot about it to really competently answer a question like that, to be completely honest. All right. So times we're going through are something else. Yes, Eric, it is. In fact, to me, we're watching biblical prophecy. Look, even this space is representing that. I remember being a special enforcement officer and working that underground economy, thinking to myself, how are they going to make it? So, if you're rich or poor or great or small, that you couldn't buy or sell, because there's always been an underground economy. Well, the thing is, in this distributed ledger technology space, well, now I know because every monetary instrument can be tracked. But I'll tell you what, I will hold it and I will go with it until they want to put something in me or on me, and then we're out right there. Okay, so know what you hold. Yep, that's right. Yeah, we own the roads. Oh, I love that. I might use that. Turple. That I think that's really great. Give you credit right there. Oh, come on. I'm not going to answer that. Eddie's, and by the way, I'm going to say this to everybody. Do not, for the goodness sakes, throw out there, the amount of XRP you're holding. Now, I know we all love to, have someone just come and acknowledge, hey, you made it. You made that milestone. You made that goal. And you want that affirmation, but it's too vulnerable a thing to do. So sorry, LD, I understand the question. Just don't answer it. And that's my encouragement to everybody else. Just don't answer that, because it just puts you in a position that's not so great. Okay, so what are your thoughts on barn markets utilizing the XRP ledger? I think that all markets could be tokenized. Now, will they all be tokenized on the XRP ledger? Maybe not. But when you take in the bond market, you take in, which is a securities market, right? And all that kind of stuff. These things are traded. And, when you think of the Depository Trust and Clearing Corp, it clears a lot of these kind of trades. The deal is this: they're already, like the DTCC has already looked into and are moving forward and have actually adopted distributed ledger technology. They have. And so if you're seeing the clearinghouses doing it, why wouldn't the assets themselves? And of course, that's what Larry Fink's saying. The next evolution of these markets is the tokenization of securities. Boom, right there. That's what Larry Fink himself had said. And he's assets under management, something like 8 to 13 trillion, truly phenomenal. Um, Yeah, hopefully that'll be it. So Andrew is saying we need a currency that can't be inflated. Yeah, yeah, we do. And I think XRP being the fact that there's only 100 billion of them, they're not creating anymore. I think that's a big deal. I don't trust these airdrops. What do you think about the midnight airdrop? You know what? That is something you're going to have to decide for yourself. I'm not a big fan of a lot of them because a lot of these things really don't take off the way that you think that they will, and you're getting out there and you're having to create these trust lines and things like that. And for me, I just don't do it. So someone's asking more XLM or more XLP, well, or XRP. Well, I guess that depends on, if you like chips and dip, or if you like nachos and cheese. You got to make that decision for yourself. you know. Talking about volatility, when institutional adoption comes, the money moving across institutions is very consistent. To move that money consistency, it has to be steady. Yep, and that's where I think the volatility is not going to remain once it gets when we see the utilization and the way in which it's been designed and all that. We're seeing it now, but not to that degree. And Margaret's, do you have any Bitcoin? Yes, I own some Bitcoin. Not going to say how much, and it is not in ETFs. It is actually Bitcoin. And first thing we ever bought when we got into this space was Bitcoin. To be completely honest, I am not against Bitcoin. In fact, we hold a diverse portfolio of these assets. But XRP is our greatest and largest position. Um, Come on. I think XRP is going to hit more than $5 by the end of the year, but that's my personal opinion, and I appreciate that Lord Testicles is sharing his personal opinion of $5. Okay, so let's just see there. What if Elon Musk uses XLM for X money? Well, what if he does? I guess that'd be good for XLM, wouldn't it? Okay. Do you think our banks will store crypto? I think that once we see, now we just heard Jerome Powell before the House Financial Services Committee coming out. What did he say? He said banks can custody these assets. They can work with these things as long as they're falling within the banking guidelines. There's no issue there. Yes, I think when we see absolute institutional adoption, regulatory clarity, and all that environment, it would not surprise me one teensy weensy bit if we saw banks incentivizing us to deposit and custody our XRP with those institutions and paying us a healthy incentive to do so. I hope that really does happen, but I think it is possible. Now, Brian, I've heard a lot of people out there, they do like, ZBEC. I don't hold any, but I'm certainly not against it. Okay, let's take a look here. Let's see. Nicola Caru is saying, I love your daily YouTube videos, and I really love doing it. I love being with you guys. Rich Shepherd. Rich, of course, my buddy. I hope that you guys are doing absolutely fabulous. We enjoyed connecting with you and your lovely wife. I was about to say your name here, but we loved connecting with you guys. And I am planning on following up on that thing that you and I were just emailing there. And I'm hoping to get to talk with the right people about it. But I just thank you, Rich, for all the support that you have given to us throughout all the time that you have been. I mean, we did a coaching session, Rich and I, and it was great. And you know what? And this was back in the practically the beginning of when we started doing coaching. And since then, he has just been such a great support and emailing. We've had a great relationship, and we're able to meet him and his wife down there at XRP Las Vegas and sat down, had a meal together, and really love these guys, and they are precious people. Rudy Poo. I love that. That makes sense. I like that. It's kind of like Winnie the Pooh. Nothing good happens after midnight, Mom. Yeah, exactly. I love that. I love that. Great tongue in cheek. Matt Riley in there. Let's just take a look here. Yep, there you go. There's someone said, hey, they had 320 XRP stolen through an airdrop. Be careful, be careful. Light the world with love. Do you think swapping USDC would be a good option for selling through? No, I would not do it. Now, I will tell you why I would not do this for me. These cold wallets interact when they do these swaps through DEXs, decentralized exchanges. And usually you have to connect your hardware wallet to your computer and use MetaMask or some other, web-based third-party app to interact with the swap. Or you're using the app itself that comes with the hardware wallet. Now, the deal is this. There is so much slippage. And what slippage is from the time you initiate that trade to the time, or swap, I should call it that, to the time you actually get settlement on it, a lot of times what ends up happening is this slippage is over 10%. And I would just not do it. And that's for me. Now, if you decide that that seems the easiest way, but I'm going to tell you, if you're thinking that that's a way of circumventing the tax on your crypto, don't, because they know. And they know. Because I'll tell you guys, these are all public ledgers. And do the tax departments have the technology available? They do. They do have the technology available, and they can track this thing in ways you can't even fathom. I know that, having been a federal officer for so many years. There's lots of ways, lots of ways. Don't do it. Just don't do it. Okay, at least for that purpose. But I would be very cautious if I was doing that. Now, let's see here. Someone's asking, why don't you have a conference we can all attend? Well, because it's a lot of logistics setting those things up, and it's just not my bag. Now, I love going to conferences. Hey, Jake Claver has a bunch of them. Mel Carmine has a bunch of them. And, of course, Brad Kimes with XRP Las Vegas. And we do absolutely go to these, and we make ourselves available, Judy and I, as much as we possibly can when we do go to these things, because we want you to be able to actually interact with us, and we want to interact with you, so we do that. But definitely, yeah, it's just not our bag to actually do it. Let me just see here. Yanni Pananen, I cut the lawn listening to your live. You almost said my name correct. Oh, okay. Hopefully I did it that time. Almost. Okay. Hope I got it there. JSB says, are you in the stock market? What do you foresee staying in? No, I'm not in the stock market, interestingly enough. I'm not. But does that mean that now the way I look at stocks is this. There is a big disconnect between the economy and the market. And you can see it. You can see it so clearly. I mean, the S&P is almost at new all-time highs, yet you watch the jobless numbers just go bonkers, and that has nothing even to do with the ones that don't even qualify for making, jobless claims and, for unemployment insurance or employment, whatever they call it. It is truly wild. And so, there's volatility in everything. But, like in the stock market, I'll tell you what, if you got a 10, 20, or 30% gain, wow, you would be dancing in the street. Well, in XRP, we've seen hundreds of percent since November. So that is legendary trading for me right there. That's how I feel about that. Okay, so now let me just make sure I'm not missing anything here. Yeah, I know many of us are struggling. Eric Wallace, yes, we all. And, it's a struggle sometimes just to hold on. It is. It is. And it's not just money. It's the mentality, the psychology that you're going through. Big, big, big. All right, Robert Russell, thank you for this super chat, Robert. I really appreciate this. He says this, liberals are putting the final nail into Canada's coffin, as you know. Do you have room in the USA for two friendly soon to be? Oh, well, I'm sure they do. Look, there is a way for folks to make it down to the US as investment, as through the investment route. And I think it's called an E2 visa. And you can make an investment, not the whole $5 million golden ticket or whatever that Trump's talking about, but there are other avenues. Now, it doesn't lead to a path of permanent residency or citizenship, but it's a beginning. And then you can kind of go from there. But I'm sure that there's room for more. That is for sure. And who knows, maybe Canada will become the 51st state, eh? Wouldn't that be something else? Dave, do you think they could still manipulate XRP below dollar before it takes off? Well, I mean, could, should, would. I mean, I suppose it's at a stretch, it's certainly possible. Do I think it's probable? Well, I don't think it's probable, but I can, if I had a crystal ball, man, we'd all be billionaires. But for me, I just don't think that that will happen. But that's my personal opinion on it. Okay, so will BlackRock destroy the crypto space by taking over everything? No, they won't. Why do I believe that? Because you see, even for BlackRock, they have to have a market. A lot of people are coming out and saying, well, there's not going to be any XRP. No, there'll be XRP. Because if XRP is not traded, guess what? It has no value, does it? There needs to be a supply and demand. It's just that you could get priced out. Right now, I remember buying XRP, 11 and 12 cents. Now, there were people that bought XRP under a penny. Today, that same amount that I would buy, like let's say you buy 1,000 XRP, at 12 cents, it was like what, $120 or something like that? Now that same amount is going to cost you over $2,000. 1,000 XRP at $20 is 20 grand. 1,000 XRP at $100 is $100,000. I mean, isn't that mind, or sorry, 1,000 XRP at $100? That is truly mind bending. But if we see numbers like that, you're just going to get priced out. That's the way I kind of look at it. A lot of retail will get priced out. It will be available, just priced out. All right. No, this is something I wanted to talk about. Oh, thank you. The Real Telly asks a question that I was thinking about before and forgot to even introduce, and I want to make something clear. He's asking, does the injunction make it more difficult to approve an XRP ETF? No, it does not. Do you know why? Exchange traded funds are securities in and of themselves. The underlying asset does not have to be a security. And you've got exchange traded funds for gold. You got exchange traded funds for all kinds of commodities. So an ETF for XRP does not make it any more difficult. Now, beyond that, folks are saying, oh, well, Ripple cannot sell XRP to institutions. That is absolute false. That is not what the ruling says. It was how they sold it, not to whom they sold it. It wasn't just the selling of it. Remember, they had a lot of locked in things in there. They had a lot of conditions associated with those sales back in 2013 that made those sales securities. But going forward, that does not mean that Ripple cannot sell XRP to institutions. They just cannot do it in the same format that they had did it before. So I believe, and they are already looking at crafting a way in which they can do this. Big. Read it, and go and learn and understand it. That is a big deal right there. An E2 visa is an option for anyone. There's no amount on it, but I have heard people say that, and no, it is an E2 visa, and I can just prove that by just going in here. Okay. An E2 visa is a non-immigrant visa that allows foreign nationals from treaty countries to enter the United States to develop and direct a business in which they have invested a substantial amount of capital. That's what an E2 visa is, not the E. Now, there may be an E1 visa, but the one I was talking about was an E2 visa. And an E1 visa, oh, hold on here. Let me just get here and just see if there's an E1 visa and what that is and see what it says. Now, an E1 visa allows citizens of countries with a treaty or commerce and navigation with to enter the United States to engage in substantial trade, principally between the U.S. and their home country. That is a trade visa. An E2 visa is an investment visa. And I've heard people say, okay, there's no dollar amount on it, but if you're investing at least $100,000, most of the time that those get approved. Okay. There we go. All right. Brian Murphy says, we've been following for 3 or 4 months now. And as a newbie crypto couple, we want to thank you for dumbing it all down for us. Well, I hope I have. Sometimes that can be tough for me to do, but I'm making it easy for us seniors to grasp. Well, hey, man, I'm practically right there. I'm probably on the home 20, the home 30 myself at the age I am, you know. Yes, Judge Torsil will be finally clear of this because, of course, they are going to vacate their appeals, and they're going to settle this outside of the legal system. It's done. It's over with. It's done. It's gone. Hello, what do you think about to rekey after taking tokens off your cold wallet? Well, then, if you ever put them back on, you're going to have to create new wallets for them. You could do that. But if you want them, I think it was David Swartz who was saying that if you want to make your wallet, your XRP wallet, hardened, against, what am I trying to think of here? The supercomputing and stuff like that they talk about and all that, quantum computers. If you want to quantum hard it, you do have to do that. You have to create a fresh, brand new, key, but and you can deposit into it. You can just never send from it. Big time deal. The moment you send from it, then, it can be, potentially cracked, quantum computing. Yeah, well, not everyone's going to be able to pay $5 million for a Trump gold card, are they? And the E1 visa is not; it's the E2. Okay, there we go. Mike Bullock. Oh, forgot to say he's from the UK too. We are going to have a time over there at the UK, and it's going to be wild. Okay, Johnny. Anybody that asks this question, I'm going to throw this down. Johnny is asking, Johnny 5.3 saying, I have 426 shares at $2.17 average cost. Should I keep buying or? Well, I'll tell you what, or you should keep educating yourself and building up and determining what is your own risk tolerance and going out there and making that decision for yourself. I would never make an investment based on somebody else's conviction. I'll tell you that right now. Don't be doing that. And even if people do tell you, you still owe it to yourself because you're the one taking the risk, aren't you? How about that? Okay, what is the appeal of ETF when no one can purchase it directly? The appeal of an ETF is you got fiduciary responsibility, and when one can purchase it directly, these pension funds and hedge funds, that their fiduciary responsibility, they can't just go and buy gold directly, this and that. The exchange traded fund has a tradable value to it. It can be longed, it can be shorted, it can be, just like any other security. And that's the appeal right there, is it allows them to get into it and have exposure to it, and meet their fiduciary responsibility. And it's more liquid, right? It's more liquid. That's the way they kind of look at it. Okay. Let me just take a look. Great job. I knew this was just a matter of time. Love the content. Been here since 30,000 subs. Y'all's growth is well deserved. God bless. And I really appreciate that, guys. And like I say, we've done it together. And boy, do I ever hope, and I cannot wait. 60,000, 70, 80, 90, 100, and bang, just, break the ceiling. Now, I'm not on the channel. Oftentimes I forget. Rarely do I ever ask for folks to like and subscribe. Maybe I need to do that more, remind people to do it. But I would just, really appreciate that. If you're watching and you haven't yet liked and subscribed, join the community. We love having you on board. I'll tell you that right there. Okay. And Katrina writes, congrats on followers high from New Braunfels. Let's just take a look. I want to get... what are treaty countries? Well, treaty countries, Canada is a treaty country. The UK is a treaty country. There are treaty countries out there, and you can look that up and see who are the treaty countries that qualify under E2 visa status. And you can look up that in Google. It's very available information. Okay, nanos, are there things we should think about before depositing big sums of money to our bank accounts from exchanges? Yeah, think about going into the bank and talking to them. Because in the United States and Canada, they have FinCEN and FinTrack, which of course is the financial, enforcement and that type of thing for, they got anti-money laundering laws and all that. If you have never had a major wire of like a few hundred thousand or $1 million ever hit your bank account, I think it's prudent to go into your bank and say, listen, I've been investing in this digital asset space and, I've seen some significant appreciation and I have just, taken some profit here and I am expecting, and you can show them because, it's not that you won't get your money will go there, but it could cause some major delays because they have these, this responsibility, right, to report big deposits and to investigate, hey, look, where did this money come from? Well, you can show, hey, I've been investing for the last 3 years and I just took my profits. We're not doing anything nefarious or illegal being investors in this digital asset space, especially when you got Coinbase over there that is literally being traded, on, I think it's a NASDAQ, but they're being traded, that's a big time deal. So that's what I would suggest. The good question though, I'll tell you that. All right. Okay. Let me just take a look here. No, right now, Peace Be With You is asking, hi, David, would you be able to clarify whether we can withdraw our principal investment without paying capital gains? Nope, you can't. You can't. And the reason is this. You have to demonstrate. Now, you might be able to offset it, but you have to report it as a transaction for capital gains. Now, the reason why is because you are selling that asset, and no matter when you sold it. So let's say, you bought it at, 30 cents and now you're selling it at $3. Okay. And you could say, okay, well, I invested so much and I'm only selling that amount. Well, yes, you can offset your cost, but only for the amount that you bought, you see. So for each XRP that you bought at 30 cents, right, it's now worth $3. It's and so you can't just say, well, I'm only going to sell up to the amount that I invested. Well, it doesn't work like that. Why? Because it's the whole thing. Right? It's the 10,000 XRP. Well, maybe you only had to sell 300 to recoup your cost, but that 300 has appreciated so much. You would have to sell the whole thing and offset your cost at that point because each one of them has a small divisible portion of the cost that you had. That's how that works. I hope that made sense. I've already addressed it. Caleb and Brown is a broker. Light of the World is saying, I'm not sure if you already talked about this, but could you give a little more detail on how Caleb and Brown works? Yes, Caleb and Brown is a brokerage. When you interact with an exchange, what are you doing? You're acting as your own broker, aren't you? Buying and selling and paying the fees in the exchange. Well, with Caleb and Brown, they have access to all kinds of exchanges at one time. That's how a broker works, isn't it? And over-the-counter trading. And so they act as a broker for you, just like a normal standard broker would be. All right, so let's go down here. Hey, Richard. Hey, I appreciate that, joining and becoming a member on YouTube. The only real thing it does is, you're supporting the channel. And of course, you get the emojis and things like that and all that kind of stuff. And so, I think that's, I really, really value that. It's really great and appreciate that. Okay, now let me just take a look here. Yes, Judy and I belong to the church, but we don't, broadcast it all. Thank you, David, for asking. We are believers for sure. Now, Brad saying Jake said that Ripple could stifle the price of XRP. Now, maybe he did say that. I'm not sure in what context he did. So I'm not certain like what he had in his mind when he said it. I think I would go back and re-listen to that because I know that Jake is a big believer in XRP. And by the way, Ripple as private equity. So he has a good heart for both of them. I'll tell you what. You know what, Riverman? Because he's asked a question. Hi, Dave. Do you think Bitcoin will join forces with XRP for faster payment system? Well, I'll tell you what. Bitcoin is already interacting on the XRP ledger through third-party platforms like Spend the Bits that uses the XRP ledger to move Bitcoin because Bitcoin cannot move at scale. And that is a big deal. Even the Lightning Network, it just doesn't have the energy to do it. So spend the bit. So it's already in a way happening. Daniel's asking, why should we invest in any other coin if XRP is the king of coins? Well, I'll tell you what, that is a risk tolerance decision, isn't it? Judy and I are diversified. That was based on our risk tolerance and the things that we think in the long term will make a difference. Because I'll tell you what, maybe we want to hold on to all our XRP. And when the prices of these things move, we'll sell some of those other assets. At least that's what's in our mind. That might not be what's in your mind, but you got to make this decision for yourself. Do not make investments because somebody else has got a conviction about it. You make investments because you've got a conviction. Now, we may agree, and that's okay. That is called confluence, but it is not research right there. How about that? Matt A. Matt, thank you so much, man, for the super chat there. Really, really appreciate that. That's really great. Thank you so much. Let's just take a look here. Yeah, we can coach anybody from anywhere because remember, a financial coach is way different than a financial advisor. Research that, guys. Research that. Big deal. Okay. And Gilbert was asking if we can coach people from Puerto Rico. I've coached people from right around the wide world, I'll tell you what. And by the way, I have coached people from every walk of life that you can imagine. Every walk of life. Folks that are involved in professional jobs like I was, working for the government. I have coached senior government officials, Homeland Security, FBI, FEMA. Probably coach some, securities guys like in the NSA or CIA or whatever. They didn't tell me that. But, sometimes you can kind of just tell when you're talking to people that they might be part of a three-letter agency. Coached all those folks. Doctors, medical dentists, chiropractors, major league ball players, both in the NBA, the Major League Baseball, football, you name it. I've coached famous musicians. I've coached people that are already very successful in various business lines around the wide world, entrepreneurs and people in the tech industry and on and on and on. You know one thing that's in common with all people? They have dreams. They have goals. They have ambitions. They have desires. They are human beings. And you know what? The coaching I give to each and every one of those it's the same quality, the same, in terms of not, it's the information, it's the quality, it's the detail, it's the technique. They get it. They get it. Now, I have had people that have acted like I've been coaching since 2022. There have been people that have written me and said, David, because we followed what you talked about, and because of this, and that, and the decisions we made based on the information we got, the methods of decisiveness and all those techniques, our lives have changed now. They have changed now because we're already millionaires and we weren't before. That's a big time deal. Now, I didn't make them millionaires. They made themselves millionaires. But they did it, guys, because they were willing to go out there and invest in themselves and act on the information they got. That's what happened. And so, yeah, it's been a joy, a true joy, a true joy. And I have coached people way more sophisticated as investors than I probably will ever be. Probably will ever be. And there is something to always glean. And you know what I've noticed? People of high net worth and value, they are always looking to add to their understanding and their knowledge. And they're not arrogant. They're not proud. They are teachable. Why? Because they understand the value of information. That's why. That is why. It's not a poverty mentality. I'll tell you that. So JJ Marketing says, David, thank you for all you do and the joy that you do it with. I wonder what your thoughts are about prophetic voices in this space. Well, I'll tell you what. I remember listening to a guy I really loved, Kim Clement. Now, Kim Clement was a good friend of a guy named Lance Wallnow, and Judy and I follow Lance Wallnow and his wife and stuff like that. And Kim Clement, literally years before XRP. Now, Kim Clement has now passed away. But he said, the Lord is showing me something. It's going to be a great investment. It's going to make the fortunes of many. There's an X in it and a P in it. That's all I see right now. That is a fact, Jack. You can literally go up and look this, prophecy up. So do I believe that there are prophetic voices in this space, that God is leading people in it? Yes. What the Bible says the wealth of the wicked is stored up for the righteous, and there is going to be a transfer, and God is in the process of doing it. He fulfills his word. I believe that. That is at least what I believe. All right. Should we wait for another dip? Well, it depends, I guess, what your goals are. I mean, Judy and I bought in the dips, and that's when we did it. I mean, but the thing is, at some point, it takes off on you, and you don't catch it, and those dips are gone. At least for the time that it's running, and that was our personal experience of it. Institutions are buying big time. Even BlackRock, the price isn't moving because of over-the-counter sales. Over-the-counter supplies will not last forever. Absolutely, Bob Duke, for sure. You are right on the money. Just patience required. All the ducks are lining up. Absolutely do. I believe that. Yes, these dark pools are going to get emptied one day, and it is going to be on like crazy. Mike Bullock says, thank you for your sugar on Sundays from a fellow believer. And I really value that. The reason I do that, guys, is like, what should it profit a man if he gains the whole world, loses his own soul? Yes, we want a profit. Yes, do I believe God wants it? Hey, God created a world of multiplication. When you put an apple seed in the ground, you're not just getting one apple, you're getting a whole tree. And not just for that season, for multiple seasons. It shows you right there. Even the seed of a man, when you think about it, when you and the person that you're in love with, and you create a child, you just created somebody that is never going to die. Yes, physically, but we have a beginning, but spiritually we have no end. And that right there is an amazing thing. And so I think even in that regard, you see multiplication. Let's just see. Everyone, please do not interact with bots on Dave's page. Yeah, don't do it if there are. We try and delete those constantly all the time. And there's guys in there that'll use my avatar, this, that. And I'll say this: I will never ask you to contact me through WhatsApp, Telegram, what is it, TikTok, or any other platform, even X. I will not reach out to you with private DMs or anything like it. These guys are utter scammers. They are utter scammers, guys. They are not even me, and that is something important. I think we could see it. Now, Diana Yates is saying, have you talked about supply shock? If no, yeah, I've talked about it many a time. Do I think that we could have one? Yeah, a supply shock is very simply described as, look, the opportunity to buy it is not as great as what, it will not be available all the time. And there could be a supply shock. Remember, there's only a limited amount, and it is being gobbled up like crazy. And if you think that if everybody that owned XRP and have a Coinbase account went in there to withdraw it, I guarantee you Coinbase more than likely is going to shut the whole platform down. Why? Because they don't have the ability to fulfill everybody's request all at one time. That's why. Okay, how are they figuring capital gains, dollar cost averaging, if you move off exchange to a wallet, then back to exchange to sell? Because I'll tell you what, they know how to track it, Lowry. If you think the tax power department doesn't know when you first bought it and how you first bought it and where you first got it, and if you didn't get it, like if you had it even gifted to you, you know what they're going to do? They're going to give you a zero cost basis is what they're going to do. If there's any ambiguity, and then they will charge you from the lowest price that it ever was to the highest price it ever was, but you can see it. You can track this stuff yourself. You can see every transaction. They are all tracked, and it's not so difficult to figure out because they know. They know you did buy it at some point, and moving it off an exchange to a wallet does not hide all that is. It shows as a transaction of moving it from one wallet to another. So they have ways, and I can't tell you all the ways for lots of reasons, but I'm going to tell you they have more than the ability that you would even comprehend to collect information on you and I. Blow you away, totally would blow you away. I try to keep my American flag in the posts. I try to in my thumbnails there. Yep. Isn't that interesting? Mike Barclays have stopped people using their credit cards from buying crypto. Oh, but they have no problem with you going down there to the local pub and literally maxing it to the whole thing, buying everybody around, do they? It is totally wild. Yep, the UK is not covered, Scott. I know that's so sad, but it's because of the environment that the government has created, not because Caleb and Brown don't want to be there. I'll tell you that. Daniel is saying TAF. He might be related to somebody. I'm not sure. Eric Wallace, thank you for all you do, David. I'll have to sign up for a coaching session one day. Love to have you, and I really value, and the super chat there. Right now, I've had to tell people, look, we opened it up for July. Those spots are all taken. And just out of good faith, look, I would love to open it up. Sure, I would. And just say, oh yeah, come on in, come on in, come on all. But what if I can't fulfill the commitment? I'm not going to do that to you. And so as we get closer there, maybe in the first week of July, I'll consider opening up one more week there. Because if this moves, I want you to do what I'm going to be doing. And that is working on the execution of your plan, of course, because it moves fast. I'll tell you what, you do not want to miss it. All right. Well, this is interesting. He said, Kirkland saying, do I sell at the top or keep for the future? Well, what do you think? Do you want to sell at the bottom? Halfway down? 3/4 of the way down? All the way down? Or do we like to sell at the top? Now, let me ask you another question. How do you know when you're at the top? Huh? You know when you're at the top, usually is when you start falling down the other side. Then you hit the top. But that is a risk tolerance decision that anybody has to make for themselves. Come on. Okay. Do you think XRP's utility will eventually outweigh the importance of price speculation? Yes, I do. Utility, see, the thing is, speculation. Now, I think the word you're really wanting to talk about there, price speculation. Now, as investors, and I share this in coaching, we're taking all of this, analysis, sentiment, technical, fundamental. What we're really saying is, how is that going to affect the potential appreciation of the assets we're investing in? Well, that right there is speculation, right? So it won't outweigh the importance of price speculation. It will influence the importance of price speculation. At least that's what I believe. So let me take a look. All right. All right. And Scott, thank you, Scott. I appreciate that. He's saying we're doing a fabulous job. Can Ripple sell XRP? Yes. They can sell it from inside the United States. They don't have to go outside the U.S. to sell it. It's how they sell it. That's the big deal. Real Telly is saying, can Ripple sell XRP to U.S. institutions from one of their offices overseas? The thing is this, they can sell to U.S. institutions. I don't know where this is coming from. It's how they would sell it to U.S. institutions. If you read the ruling, it's talking about them conforming with the legislation and the way in which they sell it, not that they cannot sell it. The injunction is on how they sold it, not to whom they sold it. Okay. Let's take a look here. Hey, JJ Marketing saying thank you for the response, Lord bless. Well, I value you guys, and that's not a problem there. Yeah, thank you, Tyler, for reporting all these fake XRP Ripple screams. Yeah, it is, Brad. It's on like Donkey Kong, and that's a fact, Jack. And I love saying that because it is true. Yes, I will. Gord is saying, can you post the YouTube link you did with the Netcoins rep? I can't find it. Okay, let me find it. Here. And I will post that. Okay. Boom, 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 boom. Okay, I got to go to my videos here, guys. And I am going to find this one here. It wasn't that long ago. It really wasn't that long ago. And, okay, yes, this is it. You asked for it, we got it. And I'm going to copy this. And I will post it right in here. Okay, here, guys. This is the link to that video right there. Okay, so hopefully you guys got that. Where it said, Gord, can you post the YouTube link you did? And I just posted that. So hopefully you see that down there. Do you think Ripple would buy Uphold who are looking to IPO? You never know. You never know. I mean, it's amazing. Like they did buy some exchanges. They have bought exchanges. I agree with that, Gilbert. Just give the Caesar what is Caesar's and move on. Now, interestingly enough, now what he is quoting there is Jesus one time was sitting down. And these Pharisee guys, they thought, okay, we're going to get this guy because we know people hate paying taxes and they hate that they're paying taxes to Rome. So if we can get Jesus to kind of say this, then it'll be over for his ministry and people are just going to hate his guts. So anyway, they go up to him and say, Master, is it lawful for us to pay taxes, to Rome? And so Jesus comes along and he says this. He says, okay, show me a denarius. It was this denomination of a coin they had. So they give him one, right? And he's looking at this, and these guys missed it, guys. They missed it. They missed it. They missed it. You see, Jesus turns to him. He says, well, whose inscription and image is this? Well, he said, well, that's Caesar's, of course, they said. And then he said something so profound. And I think they missed it. They just thought that this was a very sharp and wise retort. But this is what Jesus was doing. You see, Jesus was giving these Pharisees an invitation. And he said to them this, therefore, render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. And then he didn't stop there. He said, and render unto God that which is God's. You see, you and I were created in the image of God, and we have his fingerprints all over us. And what Jesus was saying to those Pharisees is, okay, fine. All this that represents what belongs in the wide world, this coin right here, give that to Caesar. But you see, you were made of something more noble, something more better, something more divine. Give yourself to God who made you and watch how your lives can be changed. Boom. Did they ever miss one of the biggest invitations they ever heard in their lives? Because all they were trying to do is trap Jesus to get the public to hate him. And he came out with one of the biggest invitations of the gospel in the entirety of the New Testament right there. Bang. And it was all about taxes. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so all right. So I figured out how to move my office of the exchange in private. Is there a good tutorial video? Well, May, you are submitting yourself with a question like that for a lot of scammers to come along and scam you. Don't click any links that people provide for you to move your currency off an exchange to a private wallet. Oh, there's a lot of videos out there, but if you follow it the wrong way, you could get totally scammed. All right. Henry Lou, thank you so much for coming out there and blessing us with that, super chat. Really do value it. Henry says, been watching your content for years, David. I appreciate all that you and Judy do for the XRP community. Says thank you. And I just want to say, hey, thanks back. Thanks back. Really value it, to be sure. All right, so let's take a look here. Do you think we have an extended cycle? Well, this is how I think about cycles. And it's a good question. And this is coming from Steve Serves. So when it comes to these cycles, when we were involved in this space, they were all saying, oh, December of 2021. You know when it happened? April. So this whole 4-year cycle theory, I'm not a big, fan of it because you see, they missed it. They missed it. Look, not by an inch, but by a mile. That was an 8-month miss. Now, do I believe that we have bull markets and bear markets? Bear markets, bull markets. Oh yeah, I do. But the thing is this. I think of them more like seasons. Any good Canadian, like I love to say, knows when the snow hits the ground that it's probably wintertime now. When the snow falls, hey, when the snow melts and the flowers come up, it's spring. But you see, a winter can be short or can be long. Start thinking about these things in seasons, not in cycles. That's what I would say there. That's how I think about them. Okay, let's just take a look. So this person says they end up removed from exchanges. How would you sell to the institutions? Well, they're not being removed from exchanges. Simple as that. Okay, what metrics or signs would prove that to you that utility is starting to outweigh or, like you say, influence speculation? Well, absolutely. Regulatory clarity is one of them, isn't it? Stablecoin legislation Genius Act going through the Senate, isn't it? Fit 21 going through that. We're seeing MiCA regulations in the UK. We are watching all of this stuff take place. When we're talking about utility, we're talking about regulatory clarity, in a way in which institutions around the wide world have now shifting their strategy. You've got Swift out there literally saying that they are going to incorporate ISO 222 compliant digital asset systems. The asset system. So, the XRP ledger. Now, of course, it's the ledger that's compliant. XRP moves on the ledger. And that's exactly what it means right there. And that is evidence, boy, big time. And it will eventually the scales will move even more so. I believe that. Now, I guess time will tell. We'll have to see if that's guaranteed, right? Because nothing is guaranteed. If I had a crystal ball, hey, we'd all be billionaires for certain. Okay. Yes, I have met Brad Garlinghouse probably more than one time. Judy and I have had our picture with him. Caleb met a great guy. I've talked with him. Just an amazing guy. David Swartz, I've got to meet David person to person, face to face a number of times. And I have found these guys to be probably some of the most genuine. I mean, look, these guys are billionaires. Billionaires. I mean, they are up there, man. I watched Brad Garlinghouse at XRP Vegas just practically getting smothered to death by a crowd of people. And the folks that he had with him, they made a semicircle there. You know what? The guy had the patience to wait it through. One by one by one, knowing how much it means to you and I to just have an opportunity to shake his hand and have a picture taken with him. And I'll tell you what, that says so much to me about the character of an individual. He did just not evaporate behind some backstage there and that's it. That's all you saw. No, he put himself out there where he could be met, touched, interact with folks. That is a big deal to me. And I appreciate seeing that with these guys. They know they're a target. They know that there's a risk there. They know that. And yet they're willing to do that so that you and I can actually have an interaction with them because they do care about this community. Ripple was giving out thousands of dollars of free merchandise, set up a booth, had it staffed. I mean, it cost these guys big bucks. Security, big money. Time, humongous. I mean, what is the greatest commodity any CEO actually has? Well, I'll tell you what, it's the value of their time, and yet they gave it away. All of this kind of stuff, I'm telling you, that to me elevated the level of respect that I had for Brad Garlinghouse and David Swartz right there. I'll tell you that right there. Okay, so Pedro says, hello, my friend. Thanks for everything. Martin, Yumogbai. I hope I'm getting that right. I know I probably am not. Dave, thanks for your faith in our Lord Jesus, helping people and folks in the mark to have faith in themselves. God bless you. Well, that's just part of who I am. Look, I'm not saying this has to be part of who you are. I would hope that it would be. But I want you to know it is at least part of who I am. In fact, it's the core of my being. I really do think it's God who gave us the wisdom. In fact, the scripture says, hey, it's God who gives men the power to create wealth. And knowing him helped put us in the position to get here. You see, Judy and I fell into this space. We weren't looking for it. We were looking for gold and silver to secure. And if we had found some, we would have never found this space, but it didn't happen. But God, steps of the righteous are order of the Lord, and we're not made righteous because of what we do, right? We're made righteous because of what he did for us. So I didn't deserve it. But he made a way where there wasn't a way, and our lives changed. That was God. And at least that's how I view it. I'll tell you that. I think Lowry's saying Brad Garlinghouse will likely be one of the first trillionaires. Probably he will. All right. Okay, so guys, we are now at about 12:36. Now, I know some people are just getting on. Norm's here from Canada, but we're probably going to wind this down. I'm going to be doing a little bit, plus I have to have some lunch over here, and I'm going to be I want to connect with Judy and stuff, and, I'll be doing some other things. But there is a question here that I want to get out, and it is Nico HAMC, and he says, which use case do you think will be the tipping point for utility to really move the needle on price? Cross-border remittances, the very killer app that XRP represents. Why? Because you're going to see the wide world are going to be issuing very shortly, I believe, all of their central bank digital currencies and all of the value of the evolution of those monetary instruments. Every country on earth, guys, by the way, are developing CBDCs. We know that. You can go on to atlanticcouncil.org, and this is a very reputable, platform, and they actually have a tracker for all the countries. I mean, as small as Micronesia and stuff like that. And so I think it's going to be, my personal opinion is going to be cross-border remittances. Although there are many others, I think that one is going to be the big tipping point, and we're going to see it and big, I'll tell you what. So guys, I'm going to let you go. I love you so much. We made it, and we made it together. We made it together. We're at 55,000, now 56,000 and some odd, subscribers. Guys, let's break that ceiling at 60, 65, 70, 75, 80, 85, 90, and 95 to 100. We can do it together. Amazing, amazing. Guys, I wish you all the best. Hey, tomorrow we're going to have our Sugar on Sunday, and really hope that you can join us there. Remember to hit the like, guys, and hit the subscribe and that notification bell, because that's what really notifies you when we're out there and releasing any of these live streams or our new videos or whatever. Because if this space, as fast as it changes, we try to get out there with breaking alerts and let you know what has changed so that you can actually get that information bang, bang, right off the top and benefit from it, right? Not just react to it, benefit from it. Guys, I want to say we love you so much and really want to thank you. This is a thanks and appreciation live stream, and you are the ones we're thanking. We make the content, but guys, you made the community. You made the community. So I'll tell you what, until tomorrow, when we have another amazing one for you, have a fabulous one, guys, and take care.